All right, let's unpack this. Right now, retail executives are spending millions of dollars on artificial intelligence to predict customer behavior.
Oh, absolutely. Massive investment.
Massive. But they were completely ignoring the fact that their own store managers are, like, still using paper checklists and delayed spreadsheets just to report a broken fixture.
Yeah, it's a massive operational contradiction. I mean,
Mm.
you have billion-dollar back-end technology paired with basically 1990s frontline execution tools.
It makes no sense. So today, we are doing a deep dive into why corporate headquarters is essentially flying completely blind.
Right.
We're pulling from this fascinating industry analysis by Multimedia Plus. It's titled The Rise of Closed Loop Retail Communication.
It's a great piece.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to examine the architectural breakdown of traditional corporate communication.
Hmm.
We're going to look at why establishing a continuous two-way feedback cycle isn't just, a nice-to-have HR initiative.
Yeah, not at all.
It's the absolute baseline requirement for operational survival.
Because the reality is, the traditional one-way street of corporate communication is actively failing modern retail. The goal today isn't just to talk about better messaging.
Right.
We have to fundamentally rethink how operational intelligence is gathered and applied directly on the store floor.
Yeah, because if you are managing 100 or like 1,000 locations right now, you already know that sinking feeling. Hitting send on a massive merchandising directive, knowing full well half your stores won't execute it correctly.
Exactly. It's an anxiety every operations leader knows.
Right. But before we can fix that, we have to look at the mechanics of why that friction has gotten so bad. The friction between the strategy drafted at headquarters and the actual reality at the cash wrap.
And the source material lays this out really clearly. I mean, for decades, retail communication operated strictly in one direction,
Top down.
entirely top-down.
Yeah.
Corporate develops the strategy, they create the messaging, they distribute the content, and then they just sort of expect execution to naturally follow at the store level.
Like magic.
Right. Whether it's launching products, reinforcing standards, merchandising, it was all pushed down the pipe.
And I have to admit, I've seen that dynamic up close. Corporate issues a directive, say it's a complex visual merchandising overhaul for a big spring launch,
Okay, yeah.
and they expect it to cascade perfectly down the chain of command. But you are dealing with an environment that has fundamentally changed.
Dramatically.
We aren't just talking about omnichannel as some buzzword anymore. We are talking about the physical friction, like the latency between digital inventory systems and localized task management.
What's fascinating here is why this shift matters so much. It's not simply that store teams are busier. It's that the sheer complexity of omnichannel retail has completely outpaced the capacity of a one-way information flow.
They're doing too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Store teams today are actively juggling massive staffing pressures. Plus, they're taking on localized fulfillment responsibilities that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Right. They're basically running mini warehouses.
Yes, they're packing ship from store orders, they're processing these really convoluted online returns, and they're managing buy online, pick up in-store traffic.
BOPIS is a beast.
It is. And they're doing all of this while attempting to maintain brand standards and customer service on the actual physical floor.
Okay, hold on. I have to push back here just a bit.
Sure.
Because a seasoned retail executive might listen to this and say, well, retail has always been chaotic.
Fair point.
You've always had shipments arriving late, or like 3 call-outs on a busy Saturday shift, or messy stockrooms. Is this really a new era, or are we just complaining about the same old retail headaches and pretending it's a new crisis?
That's a fair challenge, but it is fundamentally different today, primarily because of system interdependence and velocity.
How so?
Well, think about 2010. If a promotional display was set up incorrectly back then, you might lose a few incremental sales on that specific end cap, right?
Yeah, the damage was isolated.
Precisely. The damage was isolated. But today, if an associate is pulling inventory for an online order and the physical reality of the store doesn't match the digital inventory because, say, a merchandising reset wasn't executed properly, the entire fulfillment algorithm breaks down.
Oh, wow. The cascading failure.
Exactly.
Hmm.
The customer gets a cancellation notice. Then the system logs a false out of stock.
Right.
The algorithm stops routing orders to that location entirely, and your overall online conversion rate takes a hit, all because of one localized physical execution failure.
That is wild.
So the margin for error is basically evaporated.
I like to think of using one-way communication in this environment like Well, it's like a megaphone.
Megaphone.
Yeah, a megaphone is great if you're directing a marching band in a quiet stadium, but today's retail floor is like trying to use that megaphone in the middle of a Category 5 hurricane.
That is a perfect analogy.
Are we seriously expecting today's frontline workers to execute complex 2026 level operational tasks using 1996 communication styles? It's like driving a car where the steering wheel works, but the windshield is painted black.
And your dashboard metrics are on a 3-week delay.
Yes. You turn the wheel, you send the directive, but you have literally no idea if you just swerved into the correct lane or straight into a ditch.
And that leads perfectly into the massive symptom this creates for corporate leaders,
Mm-hmm.
which is the visibility gap.
Right.
Because the retail floor is moving faster than ever, relying on that old megaphone model creates a total operational blind spot. Corporate distributes messages efficiently, sure.
Super efficiently. I mean, you can blast an email update to 2,000 stores in 3 seconds.
But that efficiency is a trap.
A trap.
Yeah, it creates the illusion of execution. You know the training was distributed. You know the PDF was downloaded. But you have absolutely no idea if that actually translates into physical execution on the floor.
Ah, I see.
Are the fixtures broken? Did the signage even arrive off the truck? Are store teams hitting unseen obstacles? You just don't know.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate again here.
No for it.
Corporate executives aren't naive. They know things go wrong on the floor. And that is exactly why they use spreadsheets and emails and district manager walkthroughs.
Right, the traditional tool set.
Yeah, those tools are universally accessible. A spreadsheet is a known quantity. If I'm a VP of operations and I blast out a compliance tracker, I am getting data back. Why are we acting like hitting send is flying blind when I can literally look at the replies in my inbox?
This raises an important question. And the answer is because you are looking at delayed, filtered, and entirely unstructured data.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Let's walk through the actual mechanism of that spreadsheet in the real world.
Okay.
You send it out on Monday morning. The district manager forwards it to their 15 store managers.
Right.
Those store managers are fighting localized fires all week. So they frantically fill it out on Thursday afternoon, based on what they vaguely remember from Tuesday.
Right, they were just trying to get it off their plate so they can get back to the floor.
Exactly. Then the district manager consolidates those 15 different spreadsheets. They smooth over the rough edges so their district doesn't look incompetent, and they send it to you on Friday.
Oh, wow. So by the time that data reaches my desk at headquarters, it is essentially fiction.
It is an assumption masquerading as data. The source analysis points out that organizations attempt to solve this visibility gap using a Frankenstein monster of fragmented systems.
Like what?
Third-party survey tools, paper store walk documents, disconnected audit processes, heavily delayed reporting.
Yeah, just a mess of apps.
And the danger here is that when communication doesn't guarantee execution, assumptions replace actual operational data.
That is a terrifying thought when you
Yeah.
realize the stakes. I mean, you are making multi-million-dollar strategy decisions based on what you assume is happening in aisle 4, rather than what is actually happening. You're allocating payroll, you're ordering inventory, you're designing future store layouts, all based on a smoothed-over spreadsheet from last month.
And in an environment where product cycles are lightning fast, that kind of assumption is a massive liability.
Yeah.
You cannot respond to regional trends or fix execution gaps if your data is 3 weeks old.
Okay, so we have a blacked-out windshield. How do we clear it? If fragmented tools and top-down megaphones are starving the organization of reality, the analysis points to a fundamental architectural shift.
Yes.
You have to change the flow of information entirely. You have to close the loop.
Which brings us to the core concept of the source material, closed-loop communication.
Right.
A closed-loop system is a continuous operational feedback cycle where information flows both ways. Stores become active participants.
The key shift here is behavioral as much as it is technological, really. Stores are no longer just passive receivers of instruction.
No, they can't be.
They become active participants in the operational conversation. They provide validation, real-time observations, and actual execution insight.
Because the people sitting in the corporate office do not have the clearest understanding of customer behavior or operational friction points.
No, the frontline associates do.
Exactly. The store leaders possess that knowledge. They know exactly why a specific promotional display is failing or why a new fulfillment process is causing a massive bottleneck at the cash wrap.
Now, I know what a lot of operations leaders are thinking right now.
What's that?
They're thinking, if I introduce a closed-loop system, aren't I just giving a stressed-out store manager another excuse to stare at an iPad instead of coaching their team or helping a customer?
Yeah, the screen time fear.
Exactly. There's a real fear that you're just adding friction to their day just to feed some corporate dashboard.
That is a highly valid concern.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's true if the system is designed poorly. If it's just another app bolted onto the side of their workflow, they will hate it. But the goal of a true closed-loop architecture isn't to add tasks. It's to consolidate. You replace that chaotic web of emails, group texts, and portal logins with a single frictionless point of validation.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. There is a much larger strategic imperative here that goes far beyond saving the store manager 5 minutes a day.
Oh, absolutely.
The text makes this crucial connection to the technology every executive is betting their career on right now: artificial intelligence.
The data foundation. This is exactly where the illusion of execution meets the reality of machine learning.
Yes, because basic real-time store-level feedback isn't just about making the frontline feel heard. It is quite literally the raw fuel required to feed the AI beast that corporate is trying to build.
It is the raw material.
You cannot have intelligent automation, you cannot have predictive analytics if you do not have accurate, real-time data coming from the physical footprint of your stores.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, AI systems are really only as effective as the operational data supporting them. Let's look at how this actually works in practice.
Yeah, give me an example.
Think about predictive supply chain models. If your AI is trying to optimize inventory allocation, it relies heavily on POS data, right? Transactional data.
Sure, what's selling and what's not.
Exactly. But sales data only tells you what sold. It does not tell you why something didn't sell.
Right. So if a highly anticipated product isn't moving in, say, the Northeast region, the algorithm might look at the sales velocity and automatically suggest marking it down. Or it might divert future shipments to the West Coast.
Precisely. The AI makes a perfectly logical decision based on the transactional data it has. But what if the closed-loop feedback from the front line reveals something else?
Like what?
What if it reveals that the product isn't selling because the corporate-mandated display fixture consistently arrived with missing hardware?
Oh, so the product isn't even on the floor.
Exactly. It's sitting in the back room.
That is a perfect example. The AI doesn't know the fixture is broken, it just knows the product isn't selling.
Right.
So it slashes the price of a premium product, completely eroding your margin, all because of a physical execution failure that corporate couldn't even see.
Garbage in, garbage out. If you are feeding your AI a diet of corporate assumptions and delayed spreadsheet data, your AI is going to give you terribly destructive insights.
It's going to actively hurt the business.
It will. Organizations that are building stronger operational feedback loops today are actually building the essential data foundations for their future technology stacks.
It's about transforming the messy, chaotic, physical reality of the frontline into structured, digitized data that corporate can actually use. You are creating automated pathways for that intelligence to flow upward.
Structured field observations, execution validation, frontline feedback, all of that contributes to more organized and actionable operational intelligence.
It prevents the algorithm from making a multi-million-dollar mistake based on a completely false premise. Okay, so we've established the why. A closed loop prevents the illusion of execution, it clears the visibility gap, and it actually provides the structured observational data that your AI desperately requires.
Sure.
But knowing you need to eliminate blind spots is one thing. Actually executing it across 1,000 stores is another entirely.
Which brings us to the how. How do we operationalize this without building that Frankenstein monster of software we talked about earlier?
Right. And this is where the source material introduces a specific, targeted architectural solution.
Now, to give some context here, Insight has historically focused on mobile-first training and communication, basically getting the message out to the front line effectively.
Top-down stuff, the megaphone, but like a very digitized, efficient megaphone.
Exactly. But as the retail landscape evolved into the complex environment we've been describing, they recognized that communication and training are really only half the equation.
You have to listen.
You have to listen back to the field in a way that is actually scalable. That is the missing operational equation. So Insight Forms was introduced to act as that feedback layer.
Let's explain the causality of that. Why does it matter that this feedback layer is built into the existing communication platform? I mean, why not just use a separate, dedicated auditing app?
Because of context switching and workflow friction.
Okay.
Think about the typical process. If a store leader has to read a directive on an intranet portal, then pull out their personal phone to take a picture of a display, then email that picture to themselves, log into a separate auditing portal on a back-office computer, and then finally upload the photo.
Which, let's be honest, no one has the time or the patience to do on a busy Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly. They won't do it, or they'll do it poorly. But by integrating insight forms, store leaders and district managers can complete merchandising audits, conduct mobile store walks, and submit issue escalation reports, all within the exact same software ecosystem.
Where they received the directive in the first place.
Right.
So the workflow changes entirely. They read the directive, they execute the setup, they snap a visual merchandising photo, and they validate compliance without ever leaving the platform.
And the system instantly cross-references that photo and that compliance check with the specific corporate directive. It eliminates the delay completely.
So what does this all mean? That is huge. You don't have to guess if the window display looks right in Chicago versus Miami.
No guessing involved.
They snap a photo, and the visual merchandising team at headquarters can validate it instantly. The lighting is wrong, or the mannequins are styled incorrectly. Small execution gaps are surfaced immediately.
Before they sit there festering for weeks, hurting sales and confusing the predictive algorithms.
Right.
You can identify regional patterns instantly. If 20 stores in the Pacific Northwest are all reporting the exact same operational friction point with the new product rollout, corporate sees that trend emerge in real time.
Not a month later in a quarterly business review. It completely changes the dynamic of accountability, too. I mean, leaders don't have to wonder anymore. You don't have to hope your initiatives were acknowledged by the district managers. You can actually measure engagement.
You can validate the execution. And you can see exactly where a specific store might need extra support or targeted training.
So it's not just a policing tool, it's a support tool.
The true value of a platform like this is not simply convenience. Yes, it is infinitely easier for the store manager to use one unified system instead of 5 disjointed ones.
Obviously.
But the real strategic value is visibility for the entire organization. Communication finally becomes a measurable asset rather than an assumed operational expense.
It transforms communication from a leap of faith into a hard metric. And in a retail landscape that is only going to keep accelerating, that kind of operational agility, the ability to distribute information quickly, absorb physical feedback instantly, and feed that structured data into your broader strategy is going to define who survives the next 5 years.
And who gets left behind. Agility requires sight. You simply cannot pivot if you don't know where you currently stand.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today. From the friction of omnichannel fulfillment to the data starvation of retail AI. But to bring it all together, the core takeaway from today's deep dive is this.
The future of retail communication is not about pushing more content to your stores.
No, you do not need a louder megaphone.
You need a better conversation. It is about creating intelligent, measurable, two-way operational conversations between your corporate teams and the front line.
That closed loop is the new competitive advantage because the marching band is operating in the middle of a hurricane and you need them to be able to talk back to you so you can navigate the storm together.
It's the only way to steer the ship.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you look at your own operational strategy and your own tech stack. Think about the blind spots in the watermelon reporting, green on the outside, red on the inside that we discussed today. If your frontline team suddenly had a direct, structured, real-time line to your corporate office right now, allowing them to bypass the smoothed over spreadsheets and show you exactly what is and isn't working on the physical floor today, what is the very first uncomfortable truth they would expose about your current strategy?
It is a profound question, and the organizations that are brave enough to ask it are the ones building a truly resilient future.
They absolutely are. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep pushing boundaries, keep demanding visibility into your operations, and most importantly, keep questioning the status quo. We'll catch you next time.